Frank, Bill, I've got a minute and a half now. When I got the announcement that BJ was going to be part of this inaugural class, I called him. I'm not a big technology guy, but it's nice with the cell phones now, you know, because they can look at the cell phone and they can see who's calling them. And so instead of saying hello, they say nice things like, "Hi, Coach." So I called him, and he said, "I'm on my way downtown Chicago to be frisked or checked out or whatever it is that the Secret Service does or the FBI does. I'm having dinner with the president tonight." I said, do you know Barack Obama? And he said, "Yeah, I do, Coach." I said, you know him well? "Yeah, I know him pretty well." I said, "So let me ask you a question. Tonight at dinner, if you eat the mashed potatoes, is it going to be, 'Hey, Barack, baby,' or is it going to be, 'Mr. President, could you pass the mashed potatoes?'" He said, "I'm thinking I'm going with Mr. President." It's a good choice. I was talking with BJ's mom last week, and Barbara asked me if we had a time limit tonight. She said, "You know, I'm going to accept this award for BJ. He's out of country. Am I limited?" I said, "Well, no one really said anything to me. I think, you're accepting for your son. I think you can talk for long as you want." I said, "No, I, on the other hand, I think I got to move it along." She said, "Well, I have a rule of thumb that has always served me well in that regard." I said, "Oh, share it with me." She said, "Well, it's 3 things. When you get up there, stand up, speak up, and then shut up." So we'll move it along. My first encounter with BJ was the summer of 1981. He was a 14-year-old incoming freshman at Rice, and I had just been hired to coach the basketball team. Since there was no opportunity for a formal team meeting, I headed to St. Cecilia's to introduce myself and watch my new team. I had noticed that during timeouts there was this very young-looking, happy little guy popping his head into the huddle with the likes of guys like Paul Jokic, 6'6", Greg Bingen, 6'5", John Chasky, 6'10". And the interesting thing was, he looked perfectly at ease in that environment. And I asked one of my assistants, who does he belong to? Is he somebody's brother? And they straightened me out very quickly and informed me that his name was B.J. Armstrong and he was going to be a 9th grader. And I was in for a treat. I later found out that his dad, Ben, had taken him with him to virtually every rec center in the city of Detroit from the time he was just a little guy bouncing a ball. He was very comfortable from the earliest times in that environment. The 81-82 basketball team would be a very talented group, winning the Central Division and the Catholic League Championship. There would be strong senior leadership at the guard position with the likes of Greg Schwartz, Roderick Brown, Dennis Kozak, David Urema. The truth be known, BJ was already advanced enough to play on that team, but I just didn't think it was his time. We felt it was more important for him to settle in at Rice academically and socially. He would play on the freshman squad with his new classmates. I was recently reminded by his former freshman coach that in his very first game, he sunk a shot from midcourt to beat Divine Chapa. In 1982-83, with seniors like John Henry, Kern Smith, providing the leadership, toughness, and daily focus, BJ would settle in very nicely as a starter for the varsity. That season, Catholic Central would rule the Catholic League. They would lose only twice, both times to Brother Rice. During BJ's 3 years on the varsity, we would play Catholic Central 7 times. We would win 6 of those games. CC would full court press from start to finish, and BJ would dribble and pass and cut through them like a hot knife cutting through butter. I had begun to understand what hanging around rec centers with his dad had done. He was now like the man playing with the boys. You almost felt sorry for Catholic Central. No, he didn't. His junior and senior years would be good ones for him and Brother Rice. Intelligence, chemistry, work ethic, along with teammates like Dr. Andy Culp, who BJ would nickname Vanilla Shake. Chris Plunkett, Ray Whitlock, who had the heart of a lion, played a senior year on one leg. Tim Irvin, Matt Ningens. Those 2 years would produce 42 victories. Our record in the Central Division those 2 years would be 18 victories and 2 defeats. Rice would add 2 district championships, a regional championship, and 1 state semifinal appearance to the trophy case. One comment about his school record, 52 points in a single game. In 1985, there was no three-point line in high school. And I have often thought it would have been nice to have saved the shot chart or saved the videotape of that game and go back and look at it and see what it would have been worth with today's rules with a three-point line. In the fall of '85, he was on to the University of Iowa, where during his 4 years, the Iowa basketball program would enjoy some of its finest hours in school history. 97 victories, 37 defeats, 4 NCAA appearances. His name still dots the Iowa record book. 20 years later, he remains a favorite son of all at the university. Bob Knight said BJ was one of his favorite players to watch during those 4 years. Chosen in the first round of the 1989 NBA draft by the Chicago Bulls, he landed in the perfect storm to display his talents. In 1993, he would lead the NBA in three-point shooting percentage, averaging better than 45%. In 1994, an all-star appearance. Nearly automatic from the free throw line his entire career, and at one point held the NBA's third longest streak of 528 consecutive game appearances. After 11 years and 3 NBA championships, his knees said no more. Today he remains busy and just as successful as Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Wasserman Group out of Los Angeles, California. Many of you know BJ represents Derrick Rose of the Chicago Bulls, the #1 player selected in the 2008 NBA draft. In closing, BJ never needed to talk the talk because he always understood his actions were far more important. He always called when he was in town to see if we wanted tickets to come and see him. He always made sure someone took my sons back by the locker room for autographs. That time his old coach brought his 2 sons to the hotel to see him before he boarded the team bus to head to the Palace. He seemed to understand the Bulls practice jersey that he was getting ready to pack in his bag had very little real monetary value, but to those 2 boys, it was priceless. And we still have that jersey. He represents the very best qualities you would hope to see in a student, an athlete, a teammate, a son, and now a father to his own 2 children, Oscar and Olivia. I'm honored to ask his mother and father, Ben and Barbara Armstrong, to accept this award on his behalf.